Thank you, Reverend Dr. Easley. I know I'm getting old, and I have to refer to a good-looking young man who looks young enough to be my son as the Reverend Doctor. I want to say, first, Pastor, I'm grateful that you met me and that I got to meet your family, your beautiful children, and your wife. I'm glad you have your mother and your mother-in-law. My mother-in-law lived with us till she passed she was almost 92. And I loved her more with every passing month. And I also learned the secret to a long marriage is having your mother-in-law like you. You're halfway home. I want to thank your church member and Henderson City Councilwoman, Dorothy Gooseby, for being here. I want to thank the Deputy Speaker of the New York Assembly, I was talking to Dr. Easley back before we came out, and he remarked about some of the work that I do now, that he had written a thesis in his academic journey on the importance of increasing awareness of the HIV and AIDS problem in the African American church. And he knew I had done a lot of work on this. And as it happens, it's a good entry to what I want to say about Hillary and this election. When I left office, all I knew was I wanted to start a foundation and try to make headway on the things I cared about when I was president: economic opportunity, educational opportunity, better health care, to do it in America and around the world in a way that would make a difference. But I basically was doing what Hillary had always done before. When she became a senator from New York and I became a private citizen, we just switched places, and then all of a sudden I was one of these non-governmental activists. Today, 76% of the children on earth that are HIV positive and have developed AIDS get medicine to keep them alive from contracts our foundation negotiated. I'm proud of that. More than half of them. It takes a team of people to have a big impact. So before you know it, all these countries that had AIDS problems said, you know what we really need is a healthcare system that deals with tuberculosis, malaria, maternal and child health, figures out how to bring drugs in and store them safely and deliver healthcare. So I started working on this. Then Hillary became Secretary of State. At the time, your money was saving 1.7 million lives, mostly in Africa, but not entirely, of people with AIDS in poor countries who otherwise could not get medicine. It was President Bush's greatest achievement, the PEPFAR program. But only less than half of the money was going to buy perfectly good, cheaper, generic AIDS drugs. The same thing we need to do in America today to get these prescription drug prices down. So Hillary, overnight, said, we're going to do this right. We're going to buy the least expensive, high-quality drugs. We're going to keep more people alive. So we went from saving 1.7 million lives to 5.1 million lives. That's triple, 3.4 million people. Now, you don't know any of those people, but they know you. Yeah. They know that they are alive today because the United States cared enough about them to give them a better future. And a lot of them know it's because the Secretary of State, who's charged with implementing this program, figured out how to save 3 times as many people with the same amount of money. That's what you need, is a change maker as president. Somebody to make something good happen. And that's what we need at home. I am quite aware of why there's so much frustration in the electorate. President Obama, in my opinion, has done a much better job than he often gets credit for. I was grateful that he was able to give his last State of the Union address and say, I know we still have problems in America, but today you should be optimistic because our economy is doing better than any other big economy in the world. True. Because we've had 14 million jobs in the last 5 years. That's the most since that other Democratic president, whatever his name is. That's true. Because we have 90% of our people with health insurance for the first time in the entire history. Because we have the youngest, most diverse workforce of any big country, and that's our meal ticket to the future. Because we have the best science and technology base and the best system of higher education, we just got to make it more affordable and the debt more manageable. Because we rank first and second in the world in our ability to generate energy that we own from the sun, the wind, and other clean resources, so we can lead the world away from climate change and keep Long Island from flooding. Yeah. By creating jobs and lowering our power bills, which will make us more competitive economically. All that is true. So why is there so much anxiety and anger and frustration? Because about 80% of us have not gotten a raise since the crash. Now, half of the American people, after you adjust for inflation, are living on what they were living on the last day I was president. And that can really be frustrating. Here's the problem. We have 400 years of history. And we know that not one single country in 400 years has fully recovered from a financial crash as severe as the one we suffered in less than a decade. But we got our jobs back in 7.5 years. And we started to really grow again. But not enough for the wages to rise because the workforce participation is still low. Mostly because so many women dropped out of the workforce. Because we're the only big country in the world that doesn't have any paid leave. We don't have equal pay, and we don't have affordable child care. And you can't ask any country or any family to choose between being a good parent and being a good worker, because raising kids is the most important job of any society. And that's why he always puts these issues so much. But I believe, based on my work as president, where we all grew together, the only time I think in American history that of all the family income rises, the highest increase was among African American families, the second highest among Hispanic families, and nobody else was mad because we all rose together. And it was nothing but fair since the people that started lowest rose fastest. If you grow the economy from the middle out and the bottom up, which is what she wants to do, we can do that again. So a lot of this election is about whether people really believe this. Can the American economy and the American government and the American people create the conditions in which we can all rise together? If you believe that, then you need somebody with good plans, somebody who can be effective in the foreign policy and national defense areas so that problems overseas don't crater our economic recovery, and we can move toward peace and unity rather than all this division and conflict. And you need the best change maker as president. Somebody who, whatever the circumstances, will figure out how to make something good happen. That's what you need. So, I do believe she got the best ideas to create more jobs by using the power of the government to modernize infrastructure. Flint, Michigan is not the only town in America where kids have elevated lead levels in their blood. And you just think how many jobs we create just doing the morally right thing, taking up the bad pipes, putting down new ones, and giving every child in America a healthy future. Think how many jobs we would create If we implemented Hillary's plan to put 500 million solar panels up in 4 years and make every American home powered by homegrown clean energy within 8 years. Now, whenever I say this in New York, I see people looking at him and saying, you know, President Clinton's getting kind of old. He's lost a half a step because he should be giving this speech in California because the sun shines all the time. Well, they do lead the country in solar panels because they're big and there are a lot of people living there. But does anybody know what the second state is? New Jersey. Why am I telling you that? Because these panels are sensitive now. You can make money everywhere by empowering people to control their own future with solar and wind power. Texas, the oil capital of America, gets more than a third of its energy from wind every day. So does Iowa, and they have the lowest electric rates in America, not the highest. No serious economic strategy to make us competitive can succeed if we don't do those two things. Modernize our infrastructure and modernize and make America the leader in clean energy jobs. Then we have to remember we can bring manufacturing back to America, and we ought to try to get it in areas that have been left out and left behind. Instead of giving people tax breaks to move their jobs overseas, we should be giving people big tax breaks to invest in American markets that are underdeveloped and the unemployment. And we shouldn't forget that over 2/3 of our new jobs for more than 20 years have come from small business. And small businesses also took a terrible blow in this crash because it became harder and harder to qualify